It all began with something so small, so ordinary, that no one outside this neighborhood would ever imagine it could spark a war. Along the edge of a modest suburban home, a homeowner planted a simple patch of flowers, roses, a few herbs, some wildflowers picked up at the local nursery. Nothing extravagant. Just a little oasis of color and peace. Asterisk to the homeowner. It wasn't just landscaping. It was a retreat. A small corner of life carved out from the dull sameness of beige walls and identical lawn. A place to step outside after long days, breathe in fresh air, and remember that beauty could exist even in the middle of cookie-cutter suburbia. Asterisk. But in a community ruled by an even the smallest act of individuality can become an act of defiance. And this homeowner was about to learn just how far the HOA president was willing to go to protect her power. Asterisk. The president wasn't an airy neighbor. She was known for being controlling, vindictive, and relentless. In her eye, the neighborhood was her personal kingdom. Every blade of grass had to be cut at the same length. Every house painted in the same muted palette. Every decorative choice had to pass through her approval. To her, uniformity wasn't just a preference, it was law. Asterisk. And then came the garden. Bright, colorful, unapologetically alive. To most people, it was harmless. But to the HOA president, it was rebellion. Asterisk. The first letter arrived within a week of the first blooms. Cold, stiff, and written in the language of threats rather than courtesy. It accused the homeowner of violating HOA landscaping regulations. Strangely, no such rule actually banned gardens. Still, the letter demanded immediate removal. Warning of daily fines if ignored. Asterisk. At first, the homeowner brushed it off. Surely this was just a mistake. Surely a few flowers couldn't provoke real hostility. But underneath, a storm was already building. Because, for the president, this wasn't about flowers at all. It was about control. And she needed not just compliance, but submission. Asterisk. The whispers began soon after. Neighbors passing by would glance at the garden with admiration, some even whispering compliments under their breath. Others, too afraid of drawing the president's wrath, hurried past with eyes fixed on the ground. The garden had quickly become more than a patch of soil. It was a line in the sand, a quiet challenge to the HOA's unchecked power. Asterisk. The second letter was sharper, nastier. This time it included photographs taken from angles that exaggerated the plant's size. The images made the flowers look overgrown, invasive, like they were spilling onto the street. The new threat was harsher too. $100 per day in fines until the garden was destroyed. Asterisk. But the homeowner stood firm. The garden wasn't blocking sidewalks. It wasn't damaging property. It wasn't hurting anyone. And so, they refused to bend. Asterisk. That decision only enraged the president further. Soon, the garden was publicly shamed. It appeared in the HOA newsletter, labeled a violation of community standards. At meetings, the president pointed to it as an example of selfishness, claiming one person's refusal to follow rules could ruin the image of the entire neighborhood. Asterisk. But the president's attempt at humiliation backfired in small, subtle ways. A few neighbors began to question her obsession. Why was she so concerned about flowers while potholes still went unrepaired? Why fight over roses while the playground rusted in disrepair? Seeds of doubt were quietly being planted, and for the first time in years, people began to murmur about the president's leadership. Asterisk. The homeowner, meanwhile, was preparing. Each letter was saved, every photo filed away. Notes were kept of dates, threats, and interactions. It wasn't paranoia, it was foresight. Because deep down, the homeowner knew this wouldn't end with a few fines. This was going to escalate into something much larger. Asterisk. By midsummer, the garden had become a spectacle. Roses burst into reds and pinks. Wildflowers swayed and the herbs released their fragrance in the evening sun. To anyone else, it was beautiful. To the president, it was a direct insult, a constant reminder that her authority had been challenged and ignored. And then came the breaking point. A letter arrived, this one not from the but from the court. It was official, stamped and certified. The homeowner was being sued. The accusations were laid out in black and white. Violation of HOA rules, refusal to comply, thousands of dollars in fines and legal fees. And the demand was clear: complete removal of the garden. Asterisk, what began as a few flowers had now become a legal battle, with the weight of the entire HOA pressing down on one individual. Asterisk, shock, anger, and fear all collided at once. Losing could mean financial ruin. Winning would mean standing alone against an organization with money, power, and influence. But beneath the fear, there was resolve. The president had gone too far. This wasn't about flowers anymore. It was about freedom, about dignity, about standing up to someone who believed control mattered more than community. Asterisk, as the sun set that evening, shadows stretching across the blooms, the homeowner looked at the garden with new eyes. The roses weren't just roses anymore. The herbs weren't just herbs. This was a battlefield.